Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is a day about bringing inspiration and preparation for the reignition of your nonprofit engine. Nonprofits employ 10% of the workforce, and you are 5% of the GDP in this nation. You cannot fail, and we won't let you. It's a big day today, filled with expertise and instruction. We're expected to bring this to you through the 30+ presenters who said yes to picking up this heavy work and to spending today helping you with strategy and plans. They really have been at the forefront of support during this pandemic. And I also want to thank our donor perfect sponsor and Daryl Mosier, who is here today. What I like about Donor Perfect is that they are a group of professionals who have experience in the nonprofit sector. With over 30 years experience myself in nonprofit, I would value working with a CRM agent who understood what it was like to have accounts on donors and volunteers, and that's who they are. So their expertise in nonprofit allows them to listen and to respond in ways that are really powerful. And Daryl is here today to share some of those ways at our panel discussion this afternoon. I think you'll find that really interesting. I also want to thank the speakers that are joining us. I know some of you are in the room right now. And this could not happen without you. I am motivated by the work that you all have done with the nonprofit sector, and the sector is benefiting greatly from the forefront leadership that you've shown. So thank you for doing that. Some other quick housekeeping before we get started. Feel free today to attend any and all of the sessions. As part of your registration, you also will receive the workshops individually as pre-recorded webinars, and you could use those with your team. So if you can't get to a session, don't worry, you're going to be able to see it on the back end as well. Don't forget about a fun quick game of trivia at lunch with our friend Sarah Dreege in one of the recess session rooms, or Mike Reynolds from Stanley Black & Decker, and you can center yourself with some mindfulness. I don't know about you, but we've been running downhill for the last 4 months, and I certainly could use some mindfulness. So sorry, Sarah, we'll have to play trivia another time. I'm going to go get myself together. We appreciate each and every one of you. And as a team, what we've decided is today is a success if these 3 things happen: that you have fun, that you ask questions, and that you're inspired to do good better. We're going to kick off today with a video from Maya Angelou reciting her powerful poem, I Rise. And then I am going to invite our first speaker and our friend, Joelle A. Murchison, and she'll be followed by our morning keynote, Mimi Gonzalez, who's quite a spitfire. And then the main stage will close, but the session rooms will be open. So let's take a look and listen.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll arise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Just because I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just because I laugh, as if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, I rise. Does my sexiness offend you? Oh. Does it come as a surprise that I dance as if I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling and bearing in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, wow. There I go.
I don't think God created a more beautiful woman than Dr. Maya Angelou. I am just inspired by her every day. And I am inspired by my new friend. I did not know Joelle A. Murchison, our first speaker, before we started building this conference, but I am excited that I can call her a friend right now because I think there's so much to learn from her. So I'm going to invite Joelle to the stage. And Joelle, are you with us? There you are. Hi, my friend. How are you?
Oh, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to back out and I'm going to give you the world.
Why, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. Good morning, everyone. It is really an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning. And I'm humbled to have the opportunity to kick off this conference. Certainly following Dr. Maya Angelou is never a good thing, but it is my hope that I am able to leave you with some words this morning that you will be able to think about as you go throughout the remainder of this conference, as we navigate this new normal that we are in the midst of. We, my friends, are in a double pandemic. And it is time, I would argue, that while our public health leaders are telling us that we need to put on a mask, we may actually need to remove our mask. I start this morning sharing yet another poem with you. It seems to be the theme of where we find our inspiration. And this one is We Wear the Mask by Paul Laurence Dunbar. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but O great Christ, our cries, to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile, beneath our feet and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask. Indeed, my friends, many of us in this society wear a mask. We come into our settings, into our workplace, and into our communities, masking those things that trouble us, masking those things that provide us with insight, masking those challenges that face us each and every day that may stand as barriers from keeping us in the midst of the work that we are called to do. In the face of this pandemic, we have been asked to wear a face mask that will help to protect us ultimately from those possible germs that can invade and cause real destruction and harm to our bodies. We've lost far too many of our fellow citizens to this terrible, terrible virus already. And so the mask is a way of us protecting ourselves, of us preventing things from getting in and keeping things out. I would argue that the mask that we wear as human beings often does the same. It protects us in a way from hurt, from harm, from the evil of racism, of sexism, homophobia, and all of the other isms. But it also keeps out who we really are. It hides from our colleagues and our friends the challenges we face, the hurt we feel. Sometimes it even hides our happiness and our joy. And so I would want to leave you with today the challenge of thinking about, in the context of this double pandemic, COVID-19, and an awareness of the resurgence and pervasiveness of racial injustice, to consider removing your mask. No, not the mask that is intended to protect us from this public health crisis, but my friends, remove the mask that protects us from one another, the mask that keeps us in our own communities, that does not allow us the opportunity to learn, to experience new perspectives, and to grow. It is in removing that mask that we will indeed rise, that we will persevere through this pandemic. It is in removing that mask that it will allow us to see the humanity of one another. It will allow us to see our hopes and our fears, and it will reveal our dreams. And so in the context of thinking about what it takes for us to remove our masks, I challenge you. What we know and all that is available to us to know can be captured in the context of this image. We look at a pie chart and it tells us that what we actually know is a very small percentage of all available knowledge. What we know that we don't know, those things that we're pretty clear that we don't know how to do, is also a pretty small slice of the pie. The largest slice of the pie, however, my friends, is what we don't even know that we don't know. And some of that is helped by the fact that we persist in wearing our masks. So the challenge to us today, as we think about how to move forward in a society that is increasingly polarized, we are on often different sides of the coin. We are in different places, and some of it is because we exist while wearing our mask. In this particular survey, one example is that 6 in 10 whites answered that they think that their organization understands the unique experiences of Blacks in the workplace. In direct contrast, 6 in 10 Blacks answered they did not believe that their organization understands their unique experiences. A recent poll showed that 56% of Americans feel that Muslim values are at odds with US values. And yet 68% also said that they'd never or seldom talked to a Muslim. You see, we've begun to understand who we all are while we're wearing our masks. We don't know very much about one another, and we are poised to continue to destroy our capability as community by living in this polarized society. So how, my friends, do you become someone who can remove your mask? How do you become someone who is anti-racist and works to dismantle the system that has held our country and this world back? How do you do it? It takes your ability to take off your mask. Again, not the one that the public health officials are asking us to wear, but the mask that prevents us from sharing ourselves and also revealing those hurts, those fears, and creating space for learning and growth in our world, in our workplaces, and in our conversations with our colleagues. I thank you for the opportunity to join you this morning to kick off this conference, leaving you with the challenge to remove your mask. Because friends, the only way to undo racism is to consistently identify it and describe it and then dismantle it. And in order for us to have full and heartfelt conversations, we must remove our masks. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Sandra, Scott, all of you. I hope you have a fantastic conference. And it was really my honor and pleasure to join you this morning. We will remove our masks. Thank you.
Joelle, thank you so much. That is a formula that, while it shouldn't be new, it's newly revealed. And I think as individuals, working within our hearts and our heads with that formula of listening, receiving, and then joining in solutions, but also as nonprofits. And it would seem to me that if that could be our primary focus over the next few years, we should be able to see some impact and some change. I so appreciate your voice in this and your expertise.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. It's my pleasure now to introduce our morning keynote. And again, a young woman who has, in a very short time, had some tremendous influence and impact in many areas. Mimi Gonzalez is talent acquisition at Stanley Black & Decker, and Mimi champions diversity, equity, and inclusion, and she also inspires nonprofits in her volunteer roles to lead change in very powerful ways. So let me bring Mimi onto the stage. I love that everybody's in alphabetical order on my side here. It makes it so much easier. Mimi, I'm giving you the floor. Are you with us?
Hi there, I am.
Oh, great. I'm gonna step back. Mimi, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this. I know that you have had some very busy months, and also you have a lot of experience in the nonprofit sector as well. So thank you for being our keynote this morning.
Thank you so much. Am I good to go?
You're good to go.
All right. Everyone may have to bear with me. I've been really active in the protests lately, so my voice is escaping me a little bit, but I will try. I have my water right next to me, so thank you for having me. Welcome, everyone. My name is Mimi Gonzalez, and I'm very excited to speak with you today. First, I'll start by introducing myself. So thank you, Sandra, for that wonderful introduction. Currently, I wear a couple of hats in human resources at Stanley Black & Decker, and I'm also enrolled in their early career rotational leadership program. And aside from Stanley, I'm also a film producer for an independent film company. And outside of this, you can catch me, like I said earlier, community organizing or protesting. And so I was also part of the 2019 cohort of the Obama Foundation Community Leadership Corps. And this experience actually brought me the absolute blessing and opportunity to meet Barack Obama himself, as well as Michelle Obama and other civil rights and nonprofit leaders. And so I got to speak on stage with him at Barack Obama on a panel in Chicago. And it was probably the best day of my life. So one thing I have always been passionate about is discussing the undiscussables, and of course, talking about uncomfortable conversations, because I feel having these types of conversations is how we can really build resiliency and how we can make change together. And that will more or less be my topic of discussion today. So I'd like to talk to you about how we can leverage our current challenges in a way that is meaningful and productive, and thus building resiliency. I'd also like to highlight that we cannot do this work alone. We have all been affected by this double pandemic, as Joelle mentioned earlier. And this is a time now more than ever for us to really lean on one another, because the saying holds true: united we stand, and divided we fall. So I'm sure we have all experienced discomfort the past few months, and everything may not have made the most sense as to why all of this has happened. However, I'd like to remind you that it's clear to me something that makes the most sense. That is the reason you got in this work in the first place, and your passion for the work that you do. Your community needs you now more than ever as we reforge a new reality and rise together. With that, I'd like to share some of my key takeaways on how to create your own opportunities, especially during times of uncertainty. Have you ever been asked, what's your resiliency story? Or have you ever heard of the term cultural ad? First, let me explain resiliency story. Your resiliency story is your ability to recover quickly and overcome certain hardships in your life. For some of you, this may explain perfectly of what you're dealing with currently, whether that's the effects of COVID-19 and of course the racial war that we are in right now. And also this might have affected you personally and or your organization. These experiences are adding to your resiliency story. I'd like to thank you for still being here with me today. I have all the faith in the world that you'll be able to overcome your current obstacles, and I believe in you. Now let me talk about cultural add. This is something I learned last year in a human resources meeting I was having at work. We were looking at ways to improve our culture and our hiring and recruiting practices. And I'm sure many of us have heard the term cultural fit. And this is where we are really looking for potential candidates to fit into a box. And we at Stanley Black & Decker were really considering how we can reforge the definition of that and are now looking at cultural add, where potential candidates we're highlighting what they can really bring to our organization and add to our company culture. So for me, I even understood this on an even deeper level. So cultural add to me is everything that embodies us as who we are today. Our ethnicities, our experiences, our interests, and yes, especially our hardships. I firmly believe that if you understand these two concepts of your resiliency story, as well as understanding what you bring to the table in your cultural add, you'll be able to create endless opportunities for yourself and for your organization. So let me take that a step even further. And let me ask you this. What is something in your background or experiences that you can leverage? My advice? Leverage your hardships. Or in other words, your resiliency story to build connections, relationships, create events or programs, and to put it even more broadly, to create your own opportunities. At a young age, I've had a lot to add to my resiliency story and quite a lot to overcome. However, I truly feel all of my hardships have piqued interest in so many different areas, such as the creative space, the corporate America space, as well as the nonprofit space, and the community organizing space. In my opinion, you don't have to do one thing at a time. Leverage all of who you are. I firmly believe we are all walking intersections. Use your hardships as your armor and your strength. I will guarantee you this. If you know your resiliency story, your cultural add, and you share that with someone else, one, by sharing your story, you will give someone else permission to share theirs. And two, we all function better and stronger together. So one of my favorite artists, Lauryn Hill, once said, "How are you going to win if you are not right within?" And as mentioned earlier, if everything has been challenged and everything you believe you are in this space of discomfort and everything might not have made the most sense these past few months, I think it's time to dig a little bit deeper. Reflect on your hardships, embrace and value what you bring to the table, share this reflection with someone, and see how you can create opportunities for yourself and or your organization. Here, I'll even take it a step further. Recently, I started Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. And if you don't know what that is, it's a way to help you educate yourself on your finances and how to even tackle your debt. Because this debt is not going to pay itself. So it starts with education and some serious reflection and reevaluation. With this, I'd like to bring up a key takeaway that I learned from this course. If you don't know how to manage $1,000, you probably won't know how to manage $10,000, let alone $100,000 or $1 million. Similar to this, if you don't learn how to adapt or manage this current hardship or setback that you are currently experiencing, it will just pull you further and further away from being able to bounce back and thus build resiliency. Me learning how to overcome challenges at a young age has allowed me to recover more quickly as more hardships came my way. Of course, to build resiliency, you need a certain mindset. You have to be positive and tell yourself that no matter what, I will get through this, and this will create opportunities for me later down the road. Keeping the money example in mind, if you have a negative mindset going into a situation, 9 times out of 10, it will take you much longer to overcome, if at all. So if you work on your mindset and sustain it, you'll be able to handle hardship in a much more effective way and maybe even bounce quicker than you expected. So if you can't manage $1,000, you won't be able to manage $1 million. Just how, if you are unable to approach your current hardships with a positive mindset, you're holding yourself back from opportunities later down the road. So in this time of uncertainty and discomfort, focus on managing the obstacles right in front of you, so you'll be better prepared for opportunities that will arise in the future. Now, if it's okay with you, I'd like to share my resiliency story and how this has helped me understand my cultural ad, as well as how it taught me to create opportunities for myself. A huge component of my resiliency story is loss. Since a very young age, I lost a lot of people very close to me. And essentially, I have been grieving all of my life. And I think with the current climate that we are in, I think we can all agree we've all experienced some loss from COVID's effect on us, whether that's our routines, our jobs, our freedoms, or maybe even privacy for the working parents at home, or just in general, we've lost some sense of normalcy. And for me, I know this all too well. As every time someone passed in my life, I felt that it was setting me back over and over again, because as soon as I built myself up, someone else would go, and then I felt like I had to start all over. Then as I grew up, I realized sometimes in life we are dealt a certain deck of cards that we cannot control, and we can either let those cards define who we are, or we can reforge a new reality and leverage these hardships. So I learned to channel my hardships as superpowers, because honestly, that's what they do. They give us superpowers. And it may be hard to see this in a current situation that you were coping with, but one day you will realize that the same things that have knocked you down will be the same exact things that lift you up, and will be the same exact things that will allow you to lift others up. So for instance, I lost one of my childhood friends, more like sister, to suicide when I was 16 years old. It really took a toll on me and what felt like I was heading down a negative spiral. But I knew one thing: I didn't want people to feel the way I did, or let alone feel the way Megan did before she took her life. So I got really involved in suicide prevention work. So I organized fundraisers as well as open mic events. And one open mic event I organized my freshman year of college, I had about 70 people attend and had over 15 people on stage, just really owning their experiences, talking about it, and what seems to be a taboo subject, we were just talking about it openly together. And later that year, I won Best Program of the Year, and it was my freshman year of college. So this led to me organizing more creative events and other topics I was passionate about. And since Megan died, I've been doing this ever since. Honestly, it probably sounds crazy, but losing Megan gave me the ability to channel my pain into creativity and planning large-scale events on important issues. After losing my father, as well as my godfather, friends, and other people close to me, the more I realized how short life actually is, and life is really what you make it. I'd be lying if I said all of this loss hasn't caused me trauma. However, coping with constant loss has taught me to appreciate life and to enjoy every single moment, because every single moment matters. If I ever need a reminder to ground myself, I check my pulse. Our heartbeats remind us that life is a privilege and that it needs to be filled with more moments of what makes us happy. I truly believe that. I did not face my loss. I truly believe that if I did not face my loss and channel it in this positive way, I would not have been able to be mentally prepared to handle high-level opportunities or large-scale projects like getting involved with the Obama Foundation and even getting to meet Obama himself. I taught myself that in order to receive these types of opportunities, I had to do some serious work on myself. I now know that even though I experienced lots of loss, there's so much that I've actually gained. It's really mind over matter, and it made me also realize that stars cannot shine without darkness. It's telling yourself at your lowest points that this is going to bring me my biggest dreams. And then you will realize you don't have to sleep in order to dream. So with that, I will leave you with these 3 things. 1, what's your resiliency story? 2, what's your cultural ad? And 3, how can you leverage these concepts matched with a positive mindset to create your own opportunities? Oh, and don't forget, learn how to manage $1,000 today, and you'll be ready to take on your $1 million ideas tomorrow. Thank you for having me today, and thank you, Scott and Sandra and the Harvest Development Group for having me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.
Mimi, thank you. What a powerful message to start the day, using the disruption and the pain to build opportunity. And wow, you know, again, having experience, worked in nonprofit for 30 years, there is a lot of things that impact us as nonprofit organizations. And if we can just keep that message in front of us, I think that we could inspire ourselves to rise up, to stand up every day, and to look to see what are someone said to me, take the bricks that people throw at you and build your castle, right?
Love that.
So I know. And this crisis has also nurtured authenticity. So thank you for sharing your story. And I would encourage everybody to think about that throughout the day. So thank you, Mimi.